So, at the end of the first How I Became a Weather Geek video, I mentioned the date, April 28th, 2014. I said it pushed me to learn more about weather, which was true, and here's why. Here's the story of my experience with April 28th, 2014, another awful Mississippi and Alabama tornado outbreak. So it all began on the third anniversary of the worst tornado outbreak ever recorded, April 27th, 2011. That day, 3 years later, I had planned a watching of April 27th, 2011 tornado coverage to show respect and to remember the day, but ironically, I was blocked from doing so. I had to watch other tornadoes, which were happening at the moment in Arkansas. To you viewers in Arkansas, I was glued to the TV watching an historic tornado that hit Mayflower, then eventually hit Valonia. All of that week, I knew that there was potential for a tornado outbreak in Alabama, and I was just watching what was to come the next day. Seeing that tornado made me feel worried, but naturally a bit excited and overwhelmed. It had been such a long time since we had been under such a threat, and I was ready. I went to bed a bit earlier than I usually would that night, just to rush the day to come along as soon as I could. I woke up around 6 a.m. I was really ready and hyped up for the day. I grabbed the TV remote and turned on the Weather Channel. The meteorologist talked about the potential for long-track, violent tornadoes produced with supercells. Hearing that meteorologist say that on the Weather Channel made me shiver. They don't usually pull out the big guns and say violent, long-track tornadoes. So I was immediately injected with another wave of hype. I excitedly grabbed my book bag and went out the door to go to school. When I arrived, I saw not Piper, Emily. Emily finally lets me use her real name now, so it's not Piper anymore, it's Emily. So anyways, when I arrived, I saw Emily, Grayson, and Jake. Jake and Grayson thought nothing was going to happen, so they swarmed around me and was like, "Ha, see, I told you nothing was going to happen." And that's another thing though, I hate it when people automatically assume that if the weather people on television say it's going to be bad, it will be bad from morning to night, which sometimes, and most times, it won't be. So I tell them this, but they still don't buy it. So the day went on. I knew that the threat was later in the day, so I wasn't as scared, although after lunch I started to get a little bit antsy. We were in science class when I sneakily opened up my iPad and checked weather.com. The Weather Channel has this thing called Torcon, which is an index for chances of tornadoes. Like, for example, let's say you live in central Oklahoma. If it says central Oklahoma has a Torcon of 7, that means you have a 70% chance of a tornado in the area. So I went on and checked the Weather Channel's website, and I saw that we now had a 9 on the Torcon, meaning we had a 90% chance of tornadoes in the area. Before, it was only a 7, so this means something must have happened that increased our chances. It was a pretty laid-back day in the class, so I got up and told my teacher what was up. I asked her if I could tell the class the situation. She said sure, so I set up the iPad and used the projector to project the radar onto the wall. She got the class's attention, and she signaled me to begin. Okay, look, so back in like 3rd grade, I was in the same situation, but I got shooed off the stage because I was scaring the students. I had learned from that, and I calmly approached the situation. I calmly told them what was up, and they actually listened. The urgency in the teacher's face must have caught their attention. I explained what supercells were and what they could produce and where the cells were going. I had about a whole 10-minute spill. Then I asked if there were any questions. Everyone, maybe besides like 3 kids, raised their hands. I was shocked, but also very happy. See? Weather can be interesting. After class, school was let out due to the threat. I got in the car with my mom and I told her what had happened and such. We drove home and I remember as soon as I jumped out of the car, I felt a vibration in my pocket. I pulled out my little phone and saw the notification. A PDS tornado watch had been issued for the area. So another lesson here, a PDS tornado watch means a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch, which means there will be stronger tornadoes than there usually would be during a regular tornado watch. I was shook, so I ran inside and up the stairs. I grabbed my sister's laptop, grabbed my dad's iPad, and turned on my TV upstairs to the Weather Channel. I started it up to coverage of the Tupelo, Mississippi EF4 tornado, and immediately I was horrified. The tornado was huge and the damage was super intense. From that point, I knew I wasn't going to forget this day anytime soon. I turned the laptop to a radar and the iPad to a live stream by our local news station. I was ready. I sat down, laid back, and began to think about where in the world we would even go if there was a tornado. I was just settling in when Ella busted down my door. "Ella, what are you doing here? There is literally a tornado outbreak outside."
"Yeah, I know. Mom said that I'd be better off over here more than anywhere today, since, you like weather and stuff."
"Well, okay, whatever. Just sit down and don't make fun of any more weather stuff." So Ella sat down next to me and I tried my best to explain to her what all the colors on the radars meant. I told her about the tornado in Tupelo, and that kind of scared her. We were just sitting there for about an hour when Ella went over to the window and opened it up. I followed her to the window and held my hand out into the air. I felt the air, and it was super humid. I mean, like, concerningly humid. It was like that stormy feel. I closed the window and studied the radars a bit more. Ella was still confused for the most part. "That's the Tupelo cell, dude. That thing is going to miss us to the west. Like, by a lot, probably.
There's no warning on it?
Yeah, it's like dead. There's no way that thing's gonna revive. As soon as I said that, the sirens rang. My heart sank. I looked over at Ella, and she said,
Well, what was that?